So welcome all of you and have a good morning. So before we start, we are going to discuss about Python in today's session as well as in the few sessions to come next. I am Amit Ranjan and I have been working as a big data consultant and developer mostly. So I have been working in Python, Java and Scala along with frameworks of big data for last more than 5 years. Yes, my duty is to basically optimize and customize the pipelines of data processing so that we can extract some information from that. We can extract some insight, business trends, predictions, forecasting recommendations, and all those things. The agenda for the day as well as for the next few sessions is going to be Python. Python is essentially a programming language. So there are few things to know about Python before we actually jump into programming. So first of all, what is Python? And next is why Python? So we will try to discover these 2 points before we go forward. First of all, there are programming languages in computer science. The programming languages enable you to make the computer operate or make the computer function the way you want. Whether it be addition of 2 numbers or whether it be handling some large amount of user requests in the website background or backend. There is always a programming languages which help you to customize the way the computer works. You want the computer work the way you want, so you have to communicate using a language called as programming language. And every tool, whether it be any tool with the graphical user interface, or whether it be your calculator application on the mobile or on the computer, anything, or your web browser, every application internally is written in some programming languages, whether it be C or Java or whatever, but internally every application is written in programming language. So programming language is basically the foundation of making the computers work the way you want. And then there are many approaches or many categories of programming languages. I mean, how do you want the computer to work? There are many approaches like top-down approach, bottom-up approach. We are not going to talk about proceduralist style. Basically, if we have to decide the levels of programming languages, this is slightly basic, so most of you will be aware of it, but still it's important to highlight the segments. So there is a machine level language, and then there is assembly language, and then there is a high level language. So these are the 3 layers, or you can say 3 distinct classifications of programming languages. Machine level languages are quite binary in nature. They are very, very difficult to code. It's because everything is in binary. Even if you have to write A has got some other representations in binary, so it will be quite difficult to code it. Assembly languages use symbols, mnemonics, and they were quite easier to code as compared to machine level languages. But it is the high level languages which are the easiest to code because they use English keywords. For example, in C or places like Java, if you write int, x is equal to 1. Here, int is basically your integer. So basically, this is your English keyword, which specifies that this is x is of type integer. So it's quite easy to read, it's very easy to learn, and it's very, very easy to write as well. So high level programming languages whatever programming languages we encounter, they are the high level languages. Some examples are C, C++, then Java, and many more like C#, Haskell, Python. Python is also a high level programming language. Not only this, if you go a Scala, and then the list grows and so on. So basically, high-level programming languages use the English keyword, and hence it is easy to read and write. But if you go deeper in high-level programming languages, there are two further classifications, two important classifications. One is the category called as object-oriented programming language, and one is the category called as functional programming language. However, it's quite early to discover these things, but as an introduction, it makes sense to know about these two classifications. And then we will be able to see where Python comes into the picture. In object-oriented programming languages, you have the concept of containers. Containers are sometimes also called as classes. So basically, you create any container, which you can call them as a class. And inside the container, you have got member variables and you have got operations over that particular member variables. If you talk about Java or if you talk about C++, this container is called class. The member variables are the one which contain the data, and the operations are the one which are called the functions or methods. So this object-oriented programming languages has multiple in the say principles. One of the principle is encapsulation. So the encapsulation simply means put the data as well as the operations, that is the methods which work on the data together in a single package or in a single container. Sorry, a container is like a class, and this is the one of the philosophy. There are other philosophies as well, like overriding, overloading, abstraction, and that will be discovered later on. Whereas in functional programming languages, there are two important concepts. The first important concept is functions are objects. Now, this is quite intuitive concept. Functions are objects. Try to understand this. In object-oriented programming languages, you see that methods are basically a part of a class. There is a class and then there are methods inside the class. If there is any object of this class, the object will have the access to the methods. So methods are different entities, objects are different entities. But in functional programming languages, every function is an object. So what does this bring? This causes some important changes. Just like objects in the object-oriented programming languages, you can pass the function as an argument. And we will see this. Just as you have got one function, like you have one function which accepts some object, in functional programming, you can have a function that can accept another function. This is fairly fine because functions behave like an object. And not only this, you can return a function as a result as well. So suppose you have got as a result. So you would have seen like you have something like int function. So and then there goes the definition of the function. So function will process something and finally it is going to return some integer. This is the definition of the function. In functional programming languages, one function can, after the processing, return some other function, some f. So it will return some other function, not data type, it will return some function, and we will see this as we grow. But this is the striking difference of functional programming languages as compared to the object-oriented programming languages. The other important difference in functional programming languages are not only supports, but it strongly supports immutability. By immutability, we mean, if we talk about one Java example, we all are aware of that string is an immutable class. So if you make s is equal to abc, then what will happen? S will be your reference variable and it will point to one object in the heap. The object will be abc. This will be the value. Later on, if you make s is equal to pqr, it simply, the object will not be modified. Rather, a new object will be created and whose value will be pqr, and this s will point to this object, and this object will be garbage collected later on. So whenever you modify something, like all the operations of over the string, like substring is one of them, or the trim. So every operation will return a new object. The existing object will not be modified if it is a string. Similar is the case with integer class, float class, double class, and things like that. But not all the classes are immutable. There are mutable classes as well. Most of the time, the classes which you create can be mutable. But in functional programming, it advocates a strong immutability. So whenever an object is supposed to be modified, it should return a new object. And this has got its own benefits, especially in multi-threaded applications. Now, considering these two classifications of object-oriented and functional programming, I will give some examples as well. C++ is a very good example of object-oriented programming. Java is also a very good example, but I hope you remember that not everything in C++ or Java is an object. Not everything, because they support primitives, they support static classes, and static classes are never initial. I mean, you can call the functions of the class without initializing the class, without creating an object of the class. So it's not 100% object-oriented. But still, they are the very close resemblance to object-oriented programming. There is C# as well, one of the examples. And if we talk about functional programming, then Haskell is perhaps the best known functional programming. And then there are kind of, you can say, a mix of both. Object-oriented plus functional programming. And Scala and Python, these are the two very good examples of such a mix. So Python supports the concepts of object-oriented programming as well as functional programming. This is a very brief idea about the Python, and Python is, so you can say Python is a high-level programming language which is functional in nature and also supports the concepts of object-oriented programming. How it supports that is a matter of discussion we will carry on. The next point to understand about Python is some of the important features of Python. The very first feature of Python is it is very, very easy to learn. You all have joined the course of data science, and when it comes to data science, Python is preferred language. I mean, if you talk about the two preferred languages for data science, it is Python and R. There are some other languages as well. For example, you can do data processing in Scala also, and a few other tools are also there. But if you talk about which is the most preferred, you will get the result as Python. And there is a strong competition between Python and R. like which is most suitable. And Python has got its own strengths, it has its own advantages, and hence it is the most preferred programming language to learn data science. The question is why? Why Python? Why not Java? The fundamental reason is the easiness to learn. In Python, we will see whenever you want to apply your thoughts, you have got something in your mind, you want to take help of a programming language, Python gives you the features like dynamic typing, better high level portability. These things make it very, very easy to learn. For example, if you have to declare a variable called as, say you have to type hello world, a simple hello world example, which is basically the, I think the very first example in any programming language to print this. If you talk about Java, what you have to do? You have to create a class, basically a public class first of all. Then give it some name XYZ. Inside this class, you will have to create your method public static void main, and then you give the arguments. And inside this method, you type system.out.println and whatever you want to print. This goes like this. And this is your program completed. Then what you will do? You will save this particular program with the name of the class like xyz.java. Then what will you do? You will compile it, Java C, the class, then you will run it, Java, then this. This is the procedure we follow. In Python also, you can, what we follow is, it's very easy. The very first thing, the similar thing in Python is, if you want to print hello world, type the command print whatever you want to print, as simple as that. No need to create a class and a method like this. Simple as like that. You can save it. This is a program, and this is your program. That's it. Now see the difference in the complexity. It's extremely supportive. It lets you do what you want. You don't need to be kind of aware of lots of complex concepts which perhaps you are not going to use. So when it comes to data science, the main focus is on the implementation of the algorithm. You should not be worried about the semantics and syntaxes of your programming language, because learning a programming language is learning in its own. And it takes time. It may take few weeks or at least few months. So this is the first reason, the easiness to learn. And you can save this program by any name, something like xyz.py. Save this file as this name and then run this Python and then the file name of the file. You see, as straight and simple as that. No other complex stuff involved. Similarly, I will give you one more example to understand how easy it is to work in Python. Suppose you have got an array in Java. That array is your integer array, like 1, 4, 5, 3, 9, like this. And you want to write a code that calculates the sum of this array, like sum of elements of X. How can you write this in Java or C++? How can you write this? Anyone who would like to answer this on chat? I mean, I have got an array. I hope you know, array is a collection of elements of the same type. Internally, they get the memory allocation contiguous. So it is extremely fast to access any element of the array, and the elements are accessed by the position. So if you have to, we have got an array of a few elements and you want to sum together all the elements of the array. So anyone would like to respond on the chat? How are you going to take the sum of all the elements of an array? Okay, so any response? I got one response. Sum I is equal to 0. You would use int stream. You can try that. Your answers can be correct or incorrect. Simply try it. Sum is equal to this. Yeah. You run a loop till the end of the array and modify any variable. Yeah, that's really true. So whatever you have responded, they are exactly right. I will try to write one and just tell me whether it is correct or not. I will create one variable called as sum. I will keep sum is equal to 0, and then I will run a loop like for int I. There is a for each loop in Java for I in X. What I will do is I will do sum plus is equal to, this is a syntax like sum is equal, let me write it in a different way. I can write it sum is equal to sum plus I, and that's it. Is it? But I think this is the one portion of the code which will allow you to sum together all the elements of the array. In Python, what you will do is the similar steps. If X is your array of some elements like this, and if you want to add together all the elements, you will do sum of X. That's it. You need not to write the complex code because this sum is your inbuilt function. So the complexity in Python is extremely less, and we will learn more about this as we go forward. The other thing is there is dynamic typing in Python. So whenever you type X is equal to 10, you never specify what is the type. You see the type, it is never specified. So when the program executes at that point of time, the error messages can be received, or any type detection happens only at the runtime. It has got high level abstractions, as you have seen in a couple of examples. And the portability is also high. We won't talk more about portability, but you should know that if you want to integrate some Java code in your Python program, it's fairly easy to do that. Okay, so with this thing in mind, what we'll do is I will let you know about two important versions of Python. Python has got two important versions. One is the Python 2, Python version 2, and one is the Python version 3. Basically, these two are incompatible. They are not compatible with each other. Python 3 has got some advancements, some changes over Python 2. So what happened is Python 2 came around 2000. So that is close to 17 years ago. And it was a very huge success. It was accepted across lots of organizations. But there were few situations or internal changes which were required, and as a result, close to 2008, that is approximately 10 years ago, Python 3 was released. And Python 3 was incompatible to Python 2 because they had different, some of the syntaxes were different, some of the internals were different. So Python 3 continued to be used, but there were applications which were already written using Python 2. So this also continues to be there. So Python 2 is also there, quite used. Python 3 is also there, and it is also extensively used. Python 2 has got latest release as 2.7, and it is said that officially that this is the final release of final version of Python 2. Whereas Python 3 is growing, and any new application or any new infrastructure you have to set up, it is recommended to use Python 3. So we will learn Python 3 because that will make it more relevant. Okay, so the first thing I would like you to do is, in order to run with Python, Python also comes with interactive shell. So it's very simple. You can go and you can download and install Python. So the first thing we will do is we will simply try to download and install Python 3 just for the example, and it will take few minutes. After this, we will see that there is a better way to do that, and kind of we will see how a notebook approach makes it quite fancy to deal with. Most of your training will happen over the notebook in Python, and we will discuss about that, the Jupyter notebook, after some time. So the first thing I would request you to do this is, you can go to the internet, or just Google it out, download Python. Okay. So if you go to this link, I will share this link on chat as well. You will see two versions of Python, Python 3.6 and Python 2.7. So you have to download Python 3.6. This is just a kind of head start to know about it. Okay, so let me also download this. So I will click here and you will see at the bottom, the download has started, and I will have to wait for some time. So my download has completed. Okay, so just like any other software installation, I will install Python on my machine. So it's like you will click here, the exe file will open up, you will see install now, and okay, so just wait for some time. You will see add Python 3.6 to path. I will click here as well so that it is added to my path variable. Don't forget to click here, because that will give us some trouble sometimes. So I will use install now. So it will ask me for some permissions, and after I give the permissions, the installation will happen and it will be very fast. In few seconds, the installation will complete. So the Python installation is in progress. Okay, so it says setup was successful. Has this been, so this is the final frame I am able to see after the completion of the installation. So what I will do is I will simply close it, and if I go to the start menu, do you see something like Python 3.6? This is it. Idle. Do you see this page? I mean, this particular frame on your screen. Or what you can do is simply open the command prompt, like you can type cmd, and this is my command prompt. So once you open the command prompt, if you type Python, no, just a moment. I have got two Python installed on my machine. One is Python 2 and one is Python 3. So just give me a few seconds. Remove the settings for Python 2 for now. You can open the command prompt and type Python. You will get Python interactive shell. Okay. So are you able to see a screen something like this? Please respond. So the main observation you should be able to make here is, I have launched my command prompt. So see, this is my command prompt. Inside my command prompt, I typed Python, and this is the version of Python which is getting displayed. So basically, I am working with Python 3.6.2 on this. This is what we downloaded. So please respond if you are able to see the same screen. It means Python has been successfully installed and configured on your machine. Now here you can type, this is the interactive shell. This interactive shell is something which is very popular for development and testing. It is extremely used in development activities because it is very lightweight and very fast. You can develop something quickly. One thing is, in Java, the interactive shell is not present. There is no interactive shell. Even if you have to make a small program or a small code, you have to create your Java program, compile it, run it. You can take advantage of the IDE, which is the integrated development environment, like Eclipse or IntelliJ. There are lots of IDEs available, but there is but there is no interactive shell. Sorry, there is no interactive shell. This interactive shell feature in Java is supposed to come in Java 9. As of now, which is the latest release of Java 8, doesn't have. So that is planned for there. But in Python, this interactive shell is there. In Scala also, which is another language, there is interactive shell. So there are certain programming languages which do have the interactive shell, and Python is one of them, and that is one added advantage. So you can type your statements here. The very first thing we are going to do is we will simply type hello world. So you can just follow what I'm going to do is we will learn more about it, but you can type print hello world and just observe what happens. So we are going to do just a few random, we are going to run some random language syntaxes, and then in the next half of today's session, we will discuss in a systematic manner about the loops, about the data types, about the operations. But for the beginning, we will start with some random constructs. So what is the result you get? The result should be expected, isn't it? And I would request you to give some responses on the chat so that I am aware of what exactly you are doing. In online communication, it's quite important to know what exactly is being done. So you should get a very similar output. I mean, your expected output, as the name says, it should print the message on the screen, is it? So if I press enter, this is the output. Now, what we can do is, if you just want to see some message like, say, age is equal to 10. Suppose name is equal to Raman. Okay. If I type something like this, can you tell me what is the output of this particular command? Just do it on your screen. There are very few simple commands, but they will give you some understanding. Just do this on your screen and let me know what is the output you get. You can give a different age and a different name as well. I am giving 10 and Raman as an example. Type int. Exactly, this should be your result. So basically age is of type integer. And just remember, whenever you specified age is equal to 10, you did not mention this. Similarly, if you type something like type of name, what is the type of name? And if you press enter, you will see that name is of str. Str is a string type. So this is about the dynamic nature of Python. You specify the variable and you specify the name of the variable and value of the variable without specifying the type. Now, this is something important. We will discuss about this. What is the output of this code? I'm going to copy this code on chat so that you can use them. Again, I repeat, these are some random syntaxes. We are not discovering the language in a systematic manner as of now. We will discover them as we go forward. But just to give you the beginning of the hands-on, try to run this and tell me what is the output you are getting. So here, what happens is you are printing name is equal to, this is a special character and this is also a special character. Percentage S and percentage D. These are two special characters. It is very similar to that in C. What happens is percentage S is for string substitution. And percentage D is for integer substitution. There are a scope of more further customization, but we will discuss only these two parts. What happens here is whenever say name is equal to percentage S, these variables are specified here. The first variable goes at this place. Similarly, the second variable goes at this place. So you will get something like name is equal to, you will not get percentage S. It will be replaced, and it will be replaced by the variable which you specify here. It will be replaced. Similarly, the age will be replaced. That is something quite basic, but this is the way it works in Python. So if you press enter, name, whatever is the value of name and whatever is the value of age, it will be displayed. Now, one more thing I wanted to show you, like X is equal to, suppose you type something like an array. An array is called a list in Python. So just type this. Make sure that you specify the square brackets. What happens if we declare two string types? Which string will be picked? SG59. I'm sorry, I don't remember your name. Santosh. Oh, sorry. Yes. So Santosh, you are asking like, what if we declare two string types? Where can you give more idea? Where two string types? Like in the print? Just a moment. If I'm able to understand, like here is your string type, and this is getting replaced by the first variable. In this context, are you asking about two string types? Okay, so now what we will do is X. Now if you type like what is the type of X, what is the result you get? Please respond. So basically what happens is in Python, if you talk about data types, there are simple data types and then there are complex types as well. And as the name says, simple data types, they have the single value. And what are the values? What are the types? It can be integer, it can be float, just like different programming languages, it has a string. So these are some of the simple data types in Python. Whereas if you talk about complex data types, then they have got multiple values. And what is the best example? One example is your list. You have got list, you have got tuple, you have got a dictionary. So we will talk about these things today itself, about the data types. Data types, as the name says, you must be aware of, like data types specify two things. The first thing they specify is what type of data will be contained. For example, Integers have their different type of data, float have their different types, strings have their different types. For example, a, this a can never be integer. One can be your integer, one can be your string as well, isn't it? Like if you specify one inside double quotes, it becomes a string. If you specify only one, it becomes integer. So data types specify what types of data is going to be stored. And the second thing they specify is what are the operations which will carry on the data. So for example, if you say 1 plus 2, this will give you 3, because plus is the operation which is specified. Similarly, in a string, if you say AB plus CD, this will concatenate both of them and this will give you ABCD. So this plus has a different meaning. Like if you say 1 plus 2, and if both of them are strings, they will be concatenated and you will get a string like this. If you make operation like 1 plus 2, now this is invalid, and you can understand why this is invalid, because one is a string and one is integer. So the plus operation which you are able to see, it has got different meaning for integers and it has got different meanings for a string. We will see all these things, but basically, so this is your invalid operation. So data types specify two things. What is the type of data you are going to have, and what are the operations which are allowed on those types. So we will talk about the single value types, which is the simple types. We will talk about the complex value types. We will talk about the types of data they can have, what are the operations which are allowed over them. So this is also the discussion for the day. Completely specific to Python. Okay, so let's come back here. So have you executed this command? Can you share your result, whatever you got? No, it should not be invalid syntax. You should get it's a type of list. Please check your syntax. Yeah, so it should say that it is a type of list. You can perform some elementary operations, like if you want to take a minimum of the list, you can type min x and you will get a minimum of the list. If you want to have the maximum of the list, you can type max of x, you will get maximum of the list. If you want to get the summation of all the elements, you can type sum x. So just observe, this should be the result you should be getting. Okay, so please respond if we can proceed to the next concepts. Now we will try to discover the different concepts of Python in a quite serialized manner. I need your response. So please respond, like how are we doing as of now? Are we going slow? Are we going fast? Or are we going quite fine? Whatever you think. And also give me a confirmation if we can proceed. Okay, so before we proceed, you will have to do one thing. This is just the shell which we are using. It will not be used quite often. We will be using the Jupyter notebook. So please download the Jupyter notebook. It is one of your assignments as well, but I would request you to download it today. It will take some time to download. You can type download Jupyter, or you can type download Anaconda basically. And so this Anaconda gives you a very fancy user interface so that you can play with Python. So what you can do is just go to this link and you will get the same page. Just click this link and go to this page. Basically, it contains all your modules for data science pre-installed. So that makes it very, very easy to implement Python with Anaconda. And depending upon your operating system, suppose if you are using Windows operating system, you will see Anaconda 4.4. For Windows, you will see two options. One is the Python 3.6 version and one is the Python 2.7 version. So you have to download the Python 3.6 version. And just remember that you will be having two links here depending upon your operating system and depending upon your uh, uh, operating system architecture. Suppose if you are using a 64-bit operating system, this is the link you should go. And if you are using a 32-bit operating system, you will see a different link here. So depending upon your operating system, you can choose like whether it is a Windows or Mac OS or Linux. Most of us use Windows. I also have Windows on my machine, so this should be fine. And let me know if your download has just started. So you have to install Anaconda 4.4. The size, you can see it is a little more than 400 megabytes. So we will talk about its installation later on, not now, but let it start. Let it happen in the background. Now we will talk about the data types in Python. That is the first thing to know about. What you can do is you can continue to use the command line, the Python interactive shell. We will do some basic hands-on over there. So in data types in Python, have two categories. One is the simple data type and one is the complex data type. We have understood, taken a look at both. So the simple data types have one important data type, which is the string. So a string is basically a sequence of characters. And the characters can be your special characters. It can be your alphanumeric characters. Over the string, the important thing is you can enclose the string within single quotes or within double quotes or within triple single quotes. These are the three ways you can enclose a string. You have to specify any variable name is equal to this, and then you type whatever string you want to type. The advantage of triple single quotes is this supports multi-line string as well. You can specify a single or multi-line string if you use triple single quotes. This is the first thing to know. The second thing is there are many operations over the string. For example, if you have a string s is equal to abc, then if you type len of s, that will give you the length of the string. If you type, suppose you have got another string t is equal to pqr, then you type s plus t, this will perform the concatenation of the string. You can try these things on your terminal, on your Python interactive shell. I will show you this as well. So let me go to Python. What I will do is I will show you the examples. If you want, you can do this hands-on along with me, and I will encourage you to do hands-on along with me. The first thing I'm going to show you is I'm going to create S1. S1 is my string inside single quotes. So I will type like this is a string inside single quotes. I will create another string S2 inside double quotes. This is a string inside double quotes, as simple as that. I will create one more string like, and that string will be inside triple single quotes. Like this is a string inside triple single quotes. And this string also supports multi-line characters, multi-line strings. Like I can say this is line 1, then I can print enter, and I can continue like this is line 2, and so on. This is line 3, this is line 4, and unless I click the triple single quotes again, it will continue. So if you want to see what is the content of a variable, you can simply type S1 and it will print what is S1. If I type S4, it will print what is S4. So you can see like \n here, \n here. So \n is basically a new line character. If you type like print S4, it will print the content. So \n will not be visible then. Then \n will become a new line character. Now, if you type say print S1, you will get like this. If you type print S2, you will get something like this. And now if you type print S1 plus S2, then it will concatenate both the strings. You see, this is the string inside single quotes, and then this is the string inside double quotes. So you can simply try this out. I will give you these things on the chat. So what you can do is, I'm giving you on chat and you're going to play with some string commands. So I've pasted these things on chat. You can copy paste them here. The important point to know here is, suppose there is one good operation here like S1. If I specify 0, then this will give me the first element of S1. So what is S1? So you all know S1 is basically a string which contains this is the string inside single quotes. So a string is basically a combination of characters. So what you can do is understand here is like the T part, T is at index number 0, then H is at index 1, I is at index 2, and this S is at index 3. Then this blank, that is the space is at index 4. So every character has its index. So just like an array, you can access, like if you say S1 0, it will give you T. The other point is you can perform a substring as well by 0 till 6. For example, if I say something like this, that is I want elements from 0 till 6, the beginning and end indices. So what I will do is, if I say S1 and 0 till 6, this will give me the substring. The end index is not computed. So it is basically from 0 is included and till 6. So basically 6 is not included. So you will get 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So these index characters at these indexes will be returned as a substring. In the substring, you can also specify the step size. The step size is, suppose if you give 2, then it will go in the step of 2. Like I hope you can understand this. Suppose you have indexes 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So what will happen in this case is 0 will be selected, and then it will go a step in 2, like 1 and 2 here. Then this will be selected. Then it will go again in a step of 2. So this will be selected. So that is the reason why you will see a substring T, I, and a space will be there. So this is basically your how much do you want to jump, or how much do you want to ignore the characters in between. So The other thing is, facility is, you can also read a string in reverse. Reversing a string means, suppose this is your S1. If you type S1 and then -1, -1 means the end. What is the, so from the end, the indexing starts -1. Like this S has the index -1, this E has the index -2, this T has the index -3, and so on. So from the end also you can specify a character in a string. If you want to see how many characters are there in the string, you can talk len and then give the S1, and this will give you how many characters are there in the string. In our case, the string contains 35 characters. That is why we are getting 35. And the final character will be having the index of 34. So you can also specify like this. This is the final character. Okay, any questions still here? We have talked about some operations over a string. We have talked about concatenation. We have talked about substring. We have talked about the different ways of representing a string. Length operation over the string. Any questions? Please go ahead. Okay, so one final thing I will like to talk about you here is, suppose you give x is equal to 1. Suppose you give y is equal to 2. My question is, what is the type of x and y? What do you think? Whether they, and if I type x plus y, x plus y, what will I get? That's true. We will get 12 because both of them are string types. Okay. So I want them to become integer. So you can convert a string to integer by using int. If you type int x plus int y, what will this do is, it will convert x and y to integers. See, not all the strings can be converted to integers. You all know, we all know that. Suppose if you have strings like x is equal to 1, 2, you can convert this to integer. The int x will be fine. But if you have a string like abc, if you try to perform int operation, convert to integer, then this will give you error. This will fail because this string cannot be converted to integer. So there are strings which can be converted to integer, like this can be converted and this can be converted. So here what we are trying to do is, we are converting both the string to integer, then we are adding, so the result will be 3 in this case. So here the result will be 3 as expected. Now what is x? X is 1. So if you try to do x plus 2, you will get error. And the error, what you can read from here is quite self-explanatory, must be a string, which simply means x is your string, so but 2 is your integer. So a string and integer cannot be concatenated. So what you can do is, either you can do x plus str2, in this case you will get 12, or you want to do integer of x and then plus 2, this will give you 3. So if you want to add a string to integer, you can take these two routes depending upon what do you want. You want concatenation or addition, but a string and integer cannot be operated by using the plus operation. So if these things are done, shall we proceed to the further topics? We have to talk few more stuff. In this session, we will talk about loop, we will talk about conditions, and we will talk about complex types. So these 3 things are to be discussed in the next half an hour. Now, the first thing we will talk about is the complex types. In complex types, we have got the very first complex type as a list. Then we will also talk about tuples and dictionary, and then there are very easy to implement. List and tuples if you know about other programming languages, they are like arrays. A list is like your array, and a tuple is something you can. It's a collection of elements like a list, but the difference between list and tuple is no, I will leave it to you. What is the difference? We will talk about there are a few differences between them. So the first difference I will tell you, a list is represented inside square brackets, and tuples are represented inside your small brackets, that is the regular brackets. And the list can be have elements like 1, 2, 4, and so on, which is a list of integers. Similarly, you can have a list of characters or a list of a string, like a list of character can be A, X, Z, and so on. This is a list of characters. Or you can have a list of strings, like say A, B, C is your one string, then X, Y, Z is your another string, and then you can say P, Q, R is your another string. So this is your list of strings. In tuples, you can have like 1, 2, 3. This is a tuple of integers. But in tuple, you can have different types as well, like tuple of one integer, one character, one string. This is perfect. So tuple is a collection which can have different types. So your tuple can have elements of different types as well. The access is same, like this is your index 0, this is your index 1, this is your index 2. Similarly, here also this is your index 0, this is your index 1, this is your index 2. And the indexes in both the cases are accessed using square brackets. That is, if I show you, this is my Python command line, the interactive shell. If I say X is equal to 1, 2, 3, and 1, something like this, this is my list of integers. If I say X of 0, this is it. If I say X of 1, this is it. X of 2. It means the second index of X and so on. So the last index will be this. You can get index out of bound, say X10. The index 10 does not exist. So you will get index out of range. This is what you will get. The other point is, if you can create a tuple, say X, you want to create a tuple, you can create a tuple of say ABC 1 to 8, like this, and you can refer to the elements in a very similar manner. The difference is your tuples are immutable and the list is mutable. That is, if I make X as a list, like 1, 2, 3, 4, like this, X at 0 is 1. Suppose I want to make X at 0, I want to make it 20 or 10, something like this. It is possible. Now if I type X, you will see the first element has become 10. The first element was 1, but it has been modified. Now if I type X of 0, you will get this. But if you create X as a tuple of integers, say like this, now X of 0 is 1. Now if I try to make X at 0 to a different value, I will get an exception. And the exception is quite easy to read. It says that the tuple object does not support item assignment. You cannot reassign any item. It is quite fixed. You cannot modify the item of a tuple. Once it has been created, it will remain there. It cannot be modified. So that is the major difference between list and tuple. List is mutable, tuples are immutable, but majority of operations will look identical. For example, x is a tuple. If you say x starting from 0, you want element till 3. So this will give you, it is similar to a substring. You will get the elements 1 to 3 because elements are starting from index 0 and uh, till index 3. Index 3 is not included, or 2, like that. You can also get read elements from reverse. X of -1 will give you the last element of the tuple. The same operation will also work on list. So this is a major difference between a list and a tuple, which you must know beforehand. The third complex type is dictionary. A dictionary is it is very, very similar to hash map of Java. So in Java, we have got hash map, which contains key value combination. I won't talk more about hash map and how the implementation happens, but basically you have a key and you have a value. The key can be a simple type or a complex type. The value can also be a simple type or complex type. The only difference is the key part has to be immutable. They should not be modified. That is the reason why a list cannot be used as a key, because lists are mutable. But in the value, there is no such constraint. So you can use a list as a value, but not as a key of dictionary. Dictionaries are represented inside the curly braces. So you have the key, then you have colon, and then you have value. Then you have another key, and then you have value. Then you have another key, and then you have value. And dictionaries are not accessible using indexes. Like you cannot, suppose you create a dictionary of country and capital. For example, X is your dictionary. It contains country, for example, India as the key. And what is the capital? Suppose New Delhi is your value, which is the capital. Similarly, this is your one key value. You have got one more key as, say, Australia, which is the country. And what is the capital? Suppose it is Canberra, which is the capital. So this is your dictionary having two key value combination. This is the first one element of the dictionary. This is the second element of the dictionary. So if you type X0, no, this is not going to work. You have to type X and then what is the key? Suppose you type India, then you will get the corresponding value. What is the corresponding value? New Delhi. So the dictionary can be accessed by the key. You can get a list of keys and list of values as well by the functions called as keys and values. If you want to have a list of all the keys and list of all the values in a dictionary, I will show you this with the help of an example. Suppose I create X is equal to, as discussed, it's a dictionary. And let me make India as a key and New Delhi as a value. Similarly, I can have Australia as a key and the capital, its capital as a value. Oh, sorry, my mistake, syntax error. Yeah, so now if I type X0, this is not going to work because this is not your tuple, this is not your list, this is a dictionary. If you type X, this is my X. If you type X of India, then this is the result I will get. And remember, it is case sensitive. So if you try to make India in the small, you will get exception called as key error. The key error simply means that this particular India, which is in the smaller case, it is not available in the dictionary. So the dictionary contains the key value, and the key value can be of different types as well. In our example, the key and value both are a string, but they can be of different types as well. So suppose if I create something like salary, salary is equal to, assume that we have got three categories of employees. One is senior employee have 100 as a salary, a mid-level employee have 50 as a salary, and junior have 20 as salary. So what is salary? If I get the information about the type of the salary, you see salary is a dict. Dict means dictionary. So you can access something like a salary, and then you specify the type like a senior. So the salary is 100 as expected. So quite easy concept to understand. As I said, you can give salary.keys. It will give you a list. See, this is your list of all the keys. Similarly, you can type salary.values, and it will give you all the values in case you are interested to know about all the values. So for this is how you can access a dictionary. Now I will talk about the loops in Python. Okay, so meanwhile, please respond if these things are making sense, if these are clear, so that we can talk more about the loops. Okay, thank you. Can you please give examples of real-time scenario where tuple and list are used? Okay, Padam, I got your question. The tuple and lists, basically, the difference we have observed is like tuple is something which can not be modified, and the major difference comes in the implementation of dictionary. Suppose you want you want to create a dictionary where you are going to have the key and value. Suppose your key is the name as well as designation of an employee, and the value is say salary. Now you see the key is going to be a complex type. So basically you will have a type of the key which contains the name as well as designation. In this case, you have two options. Either you can make it as a list or as a tuple. Your list can also contain name and designation as the two elements of the list. Your tuple can also contain the name and designation as two elements of the list. But your intention is to make it as key. So here you will go with the tuple, you won't go with the list. Okay. Similarly, if you have the requirement, suppose there is a product, or better say not a product but a share of a company. Suppose you require a company and you want to store the last 5 share prices of the company, the last 5 share prices. This can be in the form of a dictionary or may not be in the form of dictionary. It can be or may not be. So your company is going to be the key and the last 5 share prices are going to be the values. And we know that the share prices keep on changing. At different point of time, the same company can have different share prices. So suppose the company is say TCS, for example, and its last share prices are 100, 200. This is an hypothetical share prices, 180 and 600, for example. After some time, this is going to be modified, and the last 5 share prices can look like 200, 120, 180, 600, and 800, for example. So you see, this particular part is going to be modified. So here, instead of using a tuple, you will go for list. So if you think that there is going to be some changes in the collection of the elements, you will go for a list. But if you think that you are fixed about the collection of elements, and that collection of elements is going to be used as the key of a dictionary, then you cannot go ahead with list, you will go with tuple. So Padam, this is what you were asking for. Is this what you were asking? You wanted an example, like where can you use tuple and where can you use list? Okay, thank you. So this is what we have to understand. The difference causes the difference of the use cases. Now we will talk about sorry, I forgot what were we discussing. Complex types and conditions. Oh, exactly. Yeah, conditions and loops. Thank you. So we will talk about loops and conditions. They are very, very easy to understand. So we will take a look. So in Python, the loops are while loop is there, for loop is there, and they are very easy to implement. Suppose you want to print numbers from 1 to 100. That's it. Let us start from the basic example. You want to print the numbers from 1 to 100. One way to do that is you can have something like I is equal to 1, and then you can give while I is less than is equal to 100. You can type print I, and then you will increment I by 1. I is equal to I plus 1, or you can give I plus is equal to 1, something like this. This is one way to do that. Here you have to understand, like in Java, you will implement this as int I is equal to 1. A similar code in Java will look like this. While I is less than equal to 100, then you will start the brackets. And inside the brackets, you will type system.out.println I. You can give I plus plus, and the same semicolons are mandatory. The difference which you will observe in Python is the very first difference. Yes, if you want to keep writing the concepts on your paper or somewhere, you can do that. However, the video will be available, of course. The first thing is the semicolons are not mandatory. You can or may not give, like see, I'm not using any semicolon. You can give that, but that's not mandatory. The second thing is these brackets are not used because these brackets have a different meaning in Python. These brackets means dictionary. Basically in Python, you have to take care of indentation. Every statement of the block will have the same indentation. Like see, this is the indentation for this block. Inside the while block, something has started, so it will have an indentation. So this indentation will be different by, you can give a space or you can give a tab, whatever you give, just maintain the uniformity. Like, let me show you. If I go to the Python command line, this is the interactive shell. If I type, say I is equal to 1, this is good. Then I can say while I is less than E is equal to 100, no brackets. What I will, oh, sorry. You have to give colon. I missed this. So here you have to give colon whenever you start a block. In if also, this is going to be there. I will give colon and I will give a tab, or you can give a space also. Then I will type print I. Then I will again give I is equal to I plus 1. Okay. And I press enter, it will print all the numbers from 1 to 100. Well, 1 to 100 is a long number. We can give like I is equal to 1 and I can give while I is less than is equal to 10. So let us print only till 10, and I will print I, and I will make I plus is equal to 1. So it will print all the numbers from 1 to 10. One other way to do that is, just see, if I type range 10, it will give me elements from 0 to 10. So you can give a for loop like for x in range 0 till 11. 11 is not considered. I want to print x. So this will also have the same effect. So in this case, you will see that for loop is quite convenient to use. So if you give something like for x in range, range is a function which takes the first element and it takes the last element. First element is included, last element is not included. So you will see, you will get 0 till 10 because you were using range from 0 to 11. And then you give colon, and then after a tab or a space as indentation, you can do anything which you want. Suppose we are printing x, that's it. So it will print from 0 till 10. Last is not included. So for loop is also quite convenient to work with. And there is also a type called as Boolean. Boolean is true or false. So it can be true or it can be false. So let me give you one example. Suppose we have a dictionary. Say dictionary contains elements, the name and age. So name is say Amit, age is 10. Name is say Sumit, age is 20. My objective is I want to input name from user, and then I will check if name is in dictionary or not. If it is present, I will display the age. If it is not present, I will display some message like the name is not there. Okay, something like this. I want to implement this kind of logic. So here what I'm going to do is, as discussed, first of all, I'm going to create my dictionary. I'm going to give the name my dict is equal to, I'm going to give like name is Amit, age is 10. Similarly, you can give the key value combinations as we discussed. So age is 20. Similarly, suppose we are having Rohit, age is 15. And then similarly, we have some numbers, some names and ages. Okay, this is it. Then what we will do is I will ask the user to input the name. So what we will use is name is equal to input, and we will type here enter name. Now I will discuss this, what it means. Whenever you use this kind of function, the function is input. It will, this code what will do is this input, it will display this. You will get this in the display, and it will ask you to enter something. So you can enter something, and unless you press the enter key, that is going to be captured. Whatever you enter here, suppose you enter x, 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 y, z, whatever, that goes and gets stored in the name variable. So whenever you want to ask the user to input something, you can use this. So you can give the input many number of times, and how it works, it will display this particular, this is your message which you want to display, and then whatever input you give, unless you press the enter, that will be captured by the variable which you specify here. So basically I want to add some dynamic behavior. So let's see how it works. I'm going to press enter. You see enter name. I'm going to give Amit. That's it. Now if you type name, the value of name is Amit. So this is working as expected. Now the next point is I want to see whether this particular name exists or not. So with this we will also learn about if else. So we'll talk about if whatever the name you have given, name in, if name is present in my dict dot keys. If it is present, I will give colon, I will press enter. A new block has just started. So I will type print age is. I will type %d, and then what is the age? The age will be my dict name, whatever name we have specified. Else, if this is not the condition, I will print, what will I print? Key %s does not exist. And what is %s? Is the name. You see, age is 10. This is the result I am getting. Now, if I repeat the steps, like name is equal to this, and I press name is equal to, say, Yahoo, something like this, I know that this name does not exist. I will repeat the if else condition. This else this, you see, this particular key does not exist. So with this code, you should be able to understand some important concepts like the working of input. This is you are searching in a list. Basically, if you give my dict dot keys, you will get a list of all the keys. And what are the keys? You can simply check. Amit is one of the keys, Sumit is one of the key, Rohit is one of the key, Venkat is one of the key. And whatever name you have supplied, that name is a part of the list or not. You check it here. If it is a part of the list, this message will be displayed. If it is not a part of the list, then this message is going to be displayed. So if else is used in this particular example, you can also work with if you give some condition, then you give some block. Then there is else if called as elif. Elif is a short for else if. Then you give one more condition, and then you execute blocks, and you can continue with elif, and finally you can give else. But remember, this colon is quite important. These colons are important. There are no brackets, so you have to take care of the indentation of the blocks. Okay, so I think this is all for the day. Any questions? If you have, please go ahead. We will see like how this example can be modified with the help of functions, because you see we are executing the same code again and again. So it will be good if we can create a function so that it becomes very clean to handle that. We will also talk about the exception handling, because you see the my dictionary dot keys, we are matching against the keys. So if the dictionary is large, then this is not the way we would like to do. So how we can optimize this code using exception handling, that will also come up in the next sessions. But this is for the day. Today we tried to talk about what is Python, why Python. You must have got an elementary feeling like how easy it is to work with Python. We talked about the data types. We talked about the syntaxes of loops and conditions, the operations over the data types. We are exceeding the time, so we will hold it here itself. Any questions if you have, please go ahead and type on the chat. Meanwhile, I am sure that your Jupyter would have been downloaded. Is it? It's a heavy file, more than 400 megabytes. So please respond if your Jupyter has been downloaded. As the part of the first assignment, explain types such as byte array and Unicode string. Okay, Padam, we will discuss that, not a problem. In the coming sessions, we will talk about byte arrays, Unicode strings as well. So for the Jupyter, you can install it just like any other software installation. You just click it and it will be installed. So the installation of Jupyter will take time. So before next session, try to install Jupyter. Like I downloaded Jupyter and it should be, okay. Sorry, Anaconda. This is the Anaconda. So if you click the exe file and it will take you to the installation, you can click next. So you have to just click on next, and then go ahead, and in my case it is installed. In your case, you can install it at the location you want. So the installation of Anaconda will take few minutes. So try to get that few minutes and download it. Any other questions for today? So I'm sure by the next session, you all will be ready with Anaconda. We will discuss the coding on Anaconda and Jupyter from the next session. We will see that it is so kind of fancy as compared to the Python command line, which we have seen today.